Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm going to show you how to do this really beautiful blanket. I've called it a K-pop blanket because it looks as if it's got a little K embedded in it. Now I'll show you how to neaten up your edges really easy and quickly, down, around the bottom and up the side. I've left the top with the cluster on it and it's a beautiful stitch. And I'm going to show you how to do it. Now I used this ice yarn baby cakes, absolutely beautiful, and I used a 6mm crochet hook, 2 sizes bigger than it tells you on the label for this, to get this nice open pattern. It's a really pretty open pattern. It's a lovely blanket for putting on the top of a stroller. It's nice and bright, this as well. Beautiful colours. And this is baby cakes. It's got cakes, blues, baby. So if you go onto the Ice Yarn website or onto eBay or Amazon and you type in baby cakes blues. So cakes, blues, baby. It's a baby cake and it's blues. It's got a lot of pink in it though. I mean, even though it says it's blues, there's a lot more pink and peach in it than blue. But it's really pretty. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I'm going to show you how to do this. So for this pretty little K-pop blanket, you're going to do your stitches in sets of 3. Do as many sets of 3 as you want. Keep your foundation chain nice and slack. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Now I'm going to do one extra stitch. Now into the second stitch in your chain, the second stitch, you're going to do a UK double crochet. Now if you're in the USA, that's a single crochet. So into that second stitch. Now into the same stitch, you're going to put 2 UK treble crochets. And if you're in the USA, they're double crochets for you. It's the same stitches, they're just called different names in different countries. So that's 1 and 2. Now you're going to skip 2 stitches. 1, 2, and do that little cluster again. 1 double crochet and 2 treble crochet. 1 and 2. Skip 2, 1, 2, and do that little cluster all the way along. So I've got 3 stitches left. I'm going to skip 2 and I'm going to put that last cluster into the last stitch. One and my second treble. Now I'm going to pull my stitch up a little bit and chain 1 and turn. Now I'm pulling the stitch up a little bit so it's slack, so that when the side of your blanket doesn't go too tight. So right into that very first stitch there, you're going to do that little cluster. So double crochet and 2 treble crochets. So that's a single crochet and 2 doubles if you're in the USA or a non-European country. You're going to skip 2 stitches and work in to the first stitch of that cluster. So it's the same thing as we did for this row. You're just going to repeat this one row over and over. So skip 2, do a double crochet and your 2 treble crochets into that same stitch. Skip 2 and work your cluster. Work your little cluster. Skip 2, and do your cluster. Now I'm at the end and I've done my little cluster and I've got 2 stitches left of that last bundle. Into the end stitch, just do a double crochet. This doesn't affect your patterning at all. So into that end stitch, make sure you grab 2 pieces of it, do a double crochet. Now pull your stitch up again and chain 1 and turn. That keeps it nice and loose. Now you're going to go into the cluster, into the first stitch of that cluster. From now on you'll go into that first stitch of your first cluster, and that's going to keep your clusters all on top of each other, and it's going to give that nice little K shape that's in here. And that's why I'm calling it a K-pop, because it looks like little K's that have all popped out of there. So into the first one of that cluster there, do your double crochet and your 2 trebles. Skip 2 stitches and it'll take you to the next cluster. So in that stitch there, do your cluster, 1 double crochet and 2 trebles. And if you're in another country, that's 1 single and 2 doubles. Skip 2 stitches, it'll take you to your next cluster. Do that all the way along, and that is the 1 row that you'll keep repeating. So I'm at my last cluster again. So I'm doing my next cluster, and I've got 2 stitches left. So into the end, the last, that little double crochet here, I'm going to do a double crochet. It doesn't count in the pattern. Now pull your stitch up and chain 1 and turn, and that keeps the edge of your blanket nice and slack. It won't go too tight. Now skip that stitch there and start in your cluster again. So double crochet into your cluster and your 2 trebles. Now it doesn't use a lot of yarn because you're skipping 2 stitches. You're creating 3 stitches here, but you're skipping 2, and then you're doing your little cluster. Then you'll skip 2, so you're not using any extra amounts of yarn in this. And look at this, you get this pretty little sort of K popping out. It's better on that side. You've got this little K that pops out on it, and that's why I've called it a K-pop, because I think it's really pretty. It's a really pretty blanket. So I'm at the end, I've done my double crochet. I want to do my 2 trebles. I'm going to the end there to that double crochet, and I'm going to put a double crochet in there, pull my stitch up a little bit and turn, and chain 1. And don't do a chain 2 because it leaves it with a big bobble here. You don't want that. So just pull your stitch out a bit and then do your chain 1. Then you're going to go in to the first stitch in your cluster, do your double crochet, and that'll keep your end nice and loose. And work along each cluster to the end. You'll do your cluster, do a double crochet into the last stitch, pull your stitch up a little bit, pull your stitch up a little bit bigger, then chain 1 and turn, and then do that row again, and you'll get this really pretty pattern. Very quickly, easily, how do you neaten up the side of a blanket when you don't want to put a border on? So on my little blanket, the base is nice and straight. I've got my little pattern on the top, but I want to neaten up the sides. This will work with almost all blankets. Anything that you've crocheted around the edges of cardigans, sweaters, if you just need to neaten up the edge, this is the quickest, simplest, easiest way to do it. with what's called a slip stitch. Now look at the edge of my blanket. Now I want to neaten that up a little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my first stitch. If you have big spaces, then just go through a few of the threads. You might have to do 2 slip stitches along to neaten it. You can work that out depending on your blanket. Now what you're going to do is you're just going to go in through your stitches. I'm going to pick up 2 loops, pull my yarn through, and then slip it through that loop. Don't do it too tight. Now through the next 2, I'll just pick up 2 threads, pull through and slip stitch. I'm going to do that all the way down the edge, just to neaten up the edge of my blanket. A lot of people will say to me, you haven't put a border on your blanket, how can I neaten it up? And this is the quickest way to neaten up the edge of your blanket. And that's the edge once it's been neatened up. It's so much neater and really simple to do. So thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. It only takes a minute or 2 to click the subscribe button and follow the instructions very easily to subscribe to the channel. And then you can subscribe to anyone's YouTube channel, and it's completely free to subscribe to people's YouTube channels. And if you click on the bell icon, YouTube will tell you when I put up another tutorial. So until the next time, happy crafting, and I'll see you all again soon. Goodbye.